what my intention was that you must reconcile with history and then move on, not into excavate the acrimonies of the past, but to move beyond them to the imperatives of a plural, modern, and progressive republic. But if you don't do that, I think it leads to a backlash, as indeed has been happening over the last few decades.
So, what made you come out so strongly about this part of our history?
Well, Makarand, I'm being attacked by both the left and the right and praised also by both, so I must be doing something appropriate. But nevertheless, as an aside, let me mention to you that what my intention was that you must reconcile with history and then move on, not into excavate the acrimonies of the past, but to move beyond them to the imperatives of a plural, modern, and progressive republic. But if you don't do that, I think it leads to a backlash, as indeed has been happening over the last few decades. The fact of the matter is that Hindu civilization had seen the Greeks come in, the Bactrians, the Scythians, but nothing equaled the systemic, sustained plunder, loot, and destruction that came in the wake of the Turkic invaders. And there is no point trying to dilute the intense religious fanaticism that drove it. I believe that is something we need to accept. So when William Dalrymple, my good friend, quotes an American authority, a scholar, and says that in 600 years of Islamic rule, verifiably only some 80 temples have been destroyed, I question that anodyne or diluted version of history. I believe there was far more desecration, that there were a great setback to Hindu civilization in terms of the destruction of its artifacts and centers of learning. And I want to state my position quite clearly with some degree of conviction. Now, having done so, it is not my intention that we necessarily bring that past to the present and create its own reactions to it. I suggest, like that South Africa had a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, we accept history and move on, and also see as part of that process how Hinduism reacted to this onslaught and in what manner it reinvented and transformed itself in order not to be extinguished. After all, in Indonesia, for instance, a largely Hindu and Buddhist country, when Islam came in 2 centuries, the whole country had become Islamic almost. This does not happen in India, and I think that why it did not happen is because Hinduism reinvented and transformed itself, and one of its great manifestations was the absolutely remarkable Bhakti movement, which lasted for 600 years, was pan Indian in its scope, took Hinduism back to the masses, went against excessive ritualism, Brahmanical hegemony, had the courage to question existing dogmas, simplified the faith but added greater devotional ardor and fervor to it, and essentially democratized it. This great bhakti movement, which, as I said, is pan Indian in scope, there's hardly any part of India which is excluded, from Tukaram to Namdev to Chandidas to Vidyapati to Surdas, to Govindas, to Mirabai, to Andal, to the Nayanars, to the Alavars, to Alama Prabhu, to Basavanna. I mean, it is pan Indian in the sheer beauty of the efflorescence of its poetic expression and the devotion and ardor by which Hinduism, in a way, insulated itself from this foreign onslaught.
If you've enjoyed the conversation that you just heard, do subscribe to our channel for much more.